This is the Surly Grognards for October 30th, 2017. This is Peter Bowman, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Eric Carlson. Well,
Hello.
Eric, it's the day before Halloween.
It's pre-spooky.
Woo! Spooky. So,
Not too spooky.
it occurred to us, a little bit. We decided on this before what we were going to do today. Before it occurred to me that what we decided to do actually is sort of somewhat thematic.
Yes.
So we're going to do a live brainstorming session again. We enjoy doing them. They're fun. And someone suggested, basically, we've gotten a couple of urban fantasy ones, which is what we're going to do. And someone mentioned that after hearing us talk about the weirdness of Boston last episode, that hearing an urban fantasy game set in Boston would be kind of awesome. I believe that was Zenta, actually. Zenta first. Yeah. And that's
So we're
really...
gonna do that.
We're going to do that because, you could do a fairly cool, spooky, Boston-themed urban fantasy campaign pretty easily. There's a lot of weird shit in Boston.
There's a lot of weird shit in Boston.
No, it was Darth Elmo who came with the suggestion. Sorry.
Okay.
Do not want to misattribute that. I had to look that up.
But yeah, no, the city's almost 300 years old. It's gonna have a lot of spooky shit in it.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of weird shit in the area around Boston. Now, okay, so we got to set a couple of ground rules, I think, to start with.
Okay.
As much as I want to do it, because Western Massachusetts, and there's things in Western Massachusetts which were definitively inspirations for Lovecraft in writing, his mythos stuff. We should avoid mythos stuff.
Okay, because I was gonna say that's like a given.
Right. I think that's a little too. I mean, we may get some of it in there, but I don't want you to say we've come up with the beginnings of a Call of Cthulhu
Call of Cthulhu game.
It's like that's easy.
Yeah. Just set Call of Cthulhu in Boston. There.
Done. I mean, like, literally, you don't have to do anything for that. Literally, get a map of Boston, do a little research, you're done. Like, Call of Cthulhu slots into the Boston metropolitan area perfectly.
Yeah. The only thing that does... The couple places that do it better, that's suburban New Hampshire.
Yep.
And Providence for obvious reasons.
Yep. Western Mass to a degree, and there are parts of Maine which would work really well, too.
Yeah. But yeah, New England spookiness, Lovecraft is a given.
Yes. So... I don't want to do that. Actually, a friend of mine ran a short Call of Cthulhu campaign set in just outside of Boston, like set during the 80s. It was actually kind of awesome.
Nice.
I think I was playing a local cop. Like, it was all set around like the high school reunion and shit.
Cool.
It was weird.
It's funny because I'm actually playing in a Shadowrun game set in 2070s Boston.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So we have also avoided the mythos stuff because, duh.
So I'm certain some of the stuff that inspired Lovecraft will leak into this.
Oh, almost certainly.
So, all right. So it's urban fantasy, and I think we're doing actual urban fantasy. I think is the big thing. We're not just doing investigating occult stuff because they'll be investigating occult stuff because it's Boston. And it's urban fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah. And just doing like occult investigations in Boston is, dude, I could do that tonight.
Yeah. It's not fantastical.
In real life, it's hardly that's hardly an RPG. I can do that for realsies.
So I think So I think the first thing is, okay, it's Boston. When do we want to set it is the question.
Might as well do it now. Why
sure.
not?
Modern day Boston, except there's magic. Because it's urban fantasy, we got to have some magic.
Do we want to do the whole, like, second world, like, kept secret from the mainstream, a la Dresden Files, World of Darkness, and whatnot?
That's one option. There are a few options we could go with. We could do that. That there's always sort of been this sort of shadowy second world, as you put it, lurking in the background that's been kept secret. We could have some sort of event that's happened that's caused the spooky stuff to start coming into the forefront.
Well, that'll happen at MIT.
Probably.
We so my Shadowrun game, one of the big story arcs that we finished up recently was that something was going on in Harvard. We did a couple runs finding stuff out and whatnot, but what was actually going on was metaphysical research using transdimensional sci-fi weirdness, because Shadowrun.
Sure.
This blew up. This turned Cambridge into a supernatural hellhole for 6 months while everyone got everything under control, and caused an ongoing zombie problem.
Okay, interesting. I like it. So, okay, one of the things I think will tie in no matter what we end up doing is one of the... let me just get this right here. One of the first executions in the New World for witchcraft was actually in Boston.
Yes.
Margaret Jones was hung in 1648.
Yep. Yeah, I vaguely remember reading about that. I mean, Salem gets all the... Here's the funny thing. Salem gets all the press for that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But Salem was always a bit of a backwater back in the day. It's not now, obviously.
Right.
But in Salem being a bit of a backwater, there are also about 2 decades short to catch on the witch burning and witch trial craze that swept New England. Started in Boston.
Yep, it did.
So yeah, that's a I won't call it a feather in our cap, a rash in our underwear.
It's bad, but yes. So yeah, there's like witchcraft. Witchcraft was a thing in Massachusetts, and we could honestly just have it be that witchcraft was actually a thing in Massachusetts.
Yeah, sure.
Whether it's
that was driven more thoroughly underground.
Yes, and you can. I mean, we could have it. Honestly, I kind of like the idea of them not them being unjustly persecuted, and just keep that in actually yes, they were persecuted unjustly. In that they okay, yeah, there were actual witches, but they weren't evil. Some of them might have been.
Sure, we could do the whole unjustly persecuted thing. And we can also have them as basically scapegoats for the actual spooky.
Oh yeah, well honestly, I kind of like the idea of there being an order of witches who've largely been keeping the supernatural at bay, and that being sort of the big sort of if we're doing sort of the secret sort of underworld thing, but have it have some event happen that's basically cause them to not be able to keep it quite as at bay as they had been.
Let's sure, we could do the witches thing, but I feel like that would be something that would be almost certainly tied to Boston old money and the old school political machine of the 60s.
Okay.
And that's part of the reason why it's fallen apart. The political machine was corrupt as all fuck off, but one of the reasons it was so corrupt as all fuck off was it was funneling funds into the barrier for whatever reason. We can call it a barrier. I like the idea of it being a barrier. Okay.
There's a barrier that's been erected, to basically keep Boston. There are weird ley lines in the Boston area that
I think there actually are weird ley lines.
It wouldn't surprise me. If mystical shit is real, then yes, there almost certainly are in Boston because Boston's fucking weird.
I like that one of the things that just that they couldn't keep a lid on is that space actually does warp in Boston.
Yes, because it seems that way at times.
It seems that way. I'm almost certain it's true. It takes an hour to get anywhere, even if it's just down the street.
unless you take a right turn on some street that should make it take longer to get somewhere, but it's shorter.
Yeah, it takes an hour to get anywhere, even if it's just a block down the street, unless you go in the opposite direction and turn left, in which case you'll get right there.
There are little side streets all throughout Boston and Cambridge which make no goddamn sense, but end up saving you like 5 minutes at least.
Yeah.
It's really freaking weird. I mean, it's not actually transdimensional. It's just that Boston and Cambridge streets are laid out in weird ways and curve in strange ways.
Yeah. Well, there's also the fact that, like, if you turn down the wrong one, you'll get lost for 2 hours trying to find your way again.
Yeah. And there's lots of really cool stuff in Boston too. Like, you know, there are a gajillion abandoned subway tunnels in Boston.
Oh yeah, like there should. One of the things I think there should definitely be is like a Boston Underground, like a sort of Undercity. Well, just take the idea of the abandoned subway tunnels and the old root cellars and the bootleggers tunnels and all that
the
stuff.
pedestrian paths that they started making and never actually finished.
And just turn it into an Undercity.
Yep.
Okay, something that needs to be done. There needs to be a significant Fey presence in Boston because of the huge Irish population.
Absolutely. Okay, sure. When the Irish came over, so did the Fey. I like that.
Yeah. And except in Chinatown. Chinatown's all Chinese mythology, and they don't get along, and they just don't fuck with each other anymore.
Right. Yeah, like there at some point
outside of Chinatown don't work in Chinatown and vice versa.
Right. Like there could have even been like some shadow war that happened, like, you know, behind the scenes between, you know, the mystics in China and the witches and the Fae and all like.
That can be like part of what the whole combat zone in the 80s is all about.
Yeah. Nice.
For those who don't know, in the 80s, the area Chinatown, the area immediately around Chinatown is known as the combat zone, which had a ridiculously high rate of violent crime.
Yep.
Like there was a reason it was called the combat zone.
Yep.
It was also one of the funnest places around if you happen to be of age. I was not, but I've heard stories. Just, you know, it's where all the cool shit was. Just don't get shot.
Yeah. So, yeah. And, you know, there are all sorts of mythological monsters in the area, too.
Yep.
That, you know, there's stories about, like the Dover Demon.
Yep. The Dover Demon. There are others. I know there are others.
I mean, there are legends of sea serpents out around Cape Ann and Gloucester.
Yep. Boston Harbor, too, actually.
Yep.
There was also during the 80s, there was this whole big scare about clowns.
Yeah.
Like the whole killer clown thing. Like, it was particularly bad in Boston. I remember that. I mean, not that there are any instances of anyone getting killed by clowns in Boston, but, you know, that didn't keep people from obsessing about it.
Yeah. And there are all sorts of other weird shit. Like, there's a cemetery in Leicester which is an old Quaker cemetery that's referred to now as the Spider Gates. Apparently, it's a legend says it's like a gateway to hell, pass through the wrong or right entry. And, yeah, oh dear.
Oh, I've been there. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's the Conahassets tribe says there's a demon that called Hobomok that inhabits the granite ledges outside the Boston Lighthouse in Cohasset.
Yep.
You know, there's, like I said, we talked about the executed witches and such, and their ghosts are probably hanging around. Lizzie Borden's from the Boston area.
Yep. Glass Island, that island
Yes.
that's basically made of trash. I like the idea of that basically just being a giant seal.
Yeah. That's good.
Because there's no reason to go to Glass Island. The land is literally like smoothed away glass pellets. There's nothing you can actually build anything on. It's literally just a pile of trash in the middle of the harbor. It's actually just a cover for a giant magical seal.
I like it.
Covers something.
And that's I like the idea of that's where the that's sort of the center of the big sort of barrier.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason there's no reason to go out there is, or one of the reasons why no one goes out there isn't just because there's no reason to, but because part of the barrier is it keeps it just sort of makes people like lose the thought of going there. Think, like let's go out to Glass Island, see what's out there. Never mind, looks boring.
Yeah,
sort of like the opposite of a suggestion spell. It sort of like destroys the impulse.
Almost like the SCP field from the Hitchhiker series.
Exactly like the SCP field. Yes. Except more insidious and spooky.
Yes. Well, yeah. Yeah. There's just.
So MIT weird science should absolutely be a thing.
Okay, I like weird science at MIT. That's a given.
Yeah, weird science at MIT. I mean, you can also have like iRobot and Boston Dynamics here in the city. It's one of the nation's leading cities for biotech. Like weird science absolutely needs to be a thing throughout the entirety of Boston.
Yep.
Because it already is.
Yeah. We're just amp up the weirdness factor.
Yeah, which is amp up the weirdness factor. Like go full Eureka.
Yeah, I like that. Also, there's something about there have been more than a few serial killers in the Boston area over the years.
Yep, the Boston Strangler, Son of Sam, was that Boston? Or was
that was New York? That was New York.
Okay.
There was a serial killer at Taunton State Hospital also.
Yep.
Jane Toppin, who was a serial killer, was convicted of murdering 31 people while she worked there as a nurse. There are also rumors that some staff belong to a satanic coven.
Yep. That's one thing I want to address because I don't think there should be a lot of cults in Boston.
I agree with you on that, actually.
If only because Boston's got a pretty strong Catholic following, but outside of it, it's pretty secular. Not like they just lackadaisical about that.
Yeah.
Like you've got a pretty good Catholic following, like the Old North Church and whatnot, and the cathedral. But
I mean, there's a mix of there's a big Catholic thing, but I mean Boston was founded by Puritans. I mean, so
yeah. I mean, you could make the argument that makes it all the more likely to have weird cults, but
yeah. I mean,
I like the idea of weird cults having been a used to be a problem in Boston, but
sure, I actually think that's a good thing. Like, there are still rumors of them, but they are generally,
generally don't amount to much more than some college kids experimenting with stuff, or the good old fashioned like scam type.
Right? Yeah, sure. There'll be plenty of those. I mean,
there's always a fair amount of scam cults in any major city.
Yep, absolutely. So there's definitely, I like to think there's sort of, I agree with you. I like the idea of there being some weirdness that's just sort of generally accepted in Boston. That that's not the occult. That's just the way things are here.
Right.
Where other people go, that seems really weird. Nah, that's just Boston.
Nah, it's just Boston. Yeah, the weird space folding in Boston.
Yep.
That's actually a supernatural event, but everyone just sort of accepts it as a given.
Yeah, it's everyone accepts that it's like, it's not actually space folding. Don't be ridiculous. It's just the way the streets are laid out in weird ways. Don't be ridiculous. But it's actually
weird
space
animal
folding.
sightings, actually.
Oh yeah, sure.
Weird animals pop up in Boston all the fucking time. Used to have a goddamn fisher cat in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Which could be part of the result of the space folds, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes they bleed outside of Boston.
Right. And there is weird shit in Boston.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that there's definitely sort of a, for those in the know, they like. I think it's sort of like almost like for natives, it's an open secret that there's magic and weird shit. But like, it's just something you don't talk about with outsiders.
Right. It just doesn't come up.
Well, they don't need to know.
Yeah.
We have people taking care of that, and
Don't sweat it.
you saw something weird. Oh, that was. Don't worry about it. It's nothing.
Whatever. It's just probably just a skunk. It was 7 feet tall. Were you drunk? You're probably drunk. Well, just come back. Yeah, you drunk. I bet you were hanging out with college kids again, weren't you? Well, I guess, yeah, they probably put something in your drink. That's what they do.
Don't worry about it, man.
It's in the middle of summer. There are no college kids. It must have been heat stroke.
Oh, then it was clearly heat stroke. But in Boston, it gets hot here in Boston, man.
One of the reasons why there isn't only public transportation in Boston, because there isn't, because Boston is dumb. That's the real reason. Boston is dumb. I like the idea of it just sort of being like a. That's when the weirdness, where the less savory elements are allowed to do their thing, and as long as that there's no public transportation specifically to discourage people from wandering around there, and it prevents open war between the ghouls and trolls and unseelie fae and the less malignant supernaturals.
Right. I like the idea of there being like an uneasy truce between like the more malign fae and beasties and the protectors. Like, it's the whole, okay, look, we can't have open warfare between us and you. Well, why not? We can take you. Yeah, we're the ones who are keeping the really bad shit out that you don't want either. Lay it off. What do you mean? Oh. Okay, so that's the. Okay. You can have those abandoned subway tunnels. We don't fucking care. We won't build trains down.
That's actually what the Undercity is. And if you want something on the occult side, that's particularly if you want black magic, you go into the Undercity.
Yep,
is what it boils down to.
Right.
Also, like, there's an uneasy truce between the Boston Brahmin witches and the local Santeria.
Okay.
Santeria is also a thing in certain
absolutely
certain neighborhoods in Boston. So yeah, having them be like, shut up, just an uneasy truce, because the Boston Brahmins see them as Johnny-come-lately upstarts, and the various, I can't remember the term for a priest of Santeria.
Fuck. What is it? Shit.
I don't know off the top of my head.
We could look this up.
I don't remember off the top of my head. It is unimportant at the moment.
Right, but so yeah, I mean,
and they're like, you guys don't do enough. You guys don't do enough. You particularly don't do enough for these neighborhoods. That's why we're here.
Right.
So there's that sort of like calling each other out on their various bullshits,
right?
But never quite crossing the line.
Right. Yeah, so I like the idea of there being a lot of insular communities, because there are a lot of insular communies in Boston.
Yeah, Boston's less of a melting pot, more of a salad.
Yeah, it's weird. There are parts of Boston where all these sort of insular neighborhoods sort of meander and interact, and then they go back to their neighborhoods.
Yeah,
and I think it'll be more true in this game than it is in real life.
Yes. Like, just for example, here in Somerville, where I live, like, literally down the street there is the Haitian street, and then there's the Dominican street.
Right.
and they don't get along either, from what I can tell. There's lots of shouting.
Right, and there are Brazilian communities in
Yep.
all over the place. And,
There's like there's a lot of Chinese immigrants. There's a lot of and they don't seem to mix much.
No, they don't.
Speaking as the white guy who also just doesn't mix much because it's just not done in Boston.
No, you don't really.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that there being a sort of there being a better reason for it than
General Boston insularness.
Yes.
General Northeastern, don't fuck with other people's shit, they won't fuck with you-ness.
Yeah. Also, the definitive lingering racism that is definitely in Boston.
There's no small amount of that, unfortunately.
Boston's a lot better than it used to be, but I remember I have vague memories of the busing incidents.
Before my time, but I've heard stories.
Yeah, they were I don't it was I think technically before my time, but it was just in the same area when I was a kid that it leaked. There was still stuff talked about it when I was growing up. The busing incidents were the early '70s, which was when I was born.
Right.
So which ended up being a good thing long term. The actual the forced integration.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
But yeah. At any rate, God, what else? But yeah, I also think that there's definitely, I like the idea of there being a lot of uneasy truces between the various, groups because.
Oh, we need to get the mobs involved too.
Oh, of course the mobs are involved.
The Irish mob, the Italian mob, and the newcomers, the Russian mob.
Oh God, the Russian mob showing. I actually like the idea of the Russian mob showing up and being fucking confused by what the fuck is going on.
Yeah,
it's like wait a minute, what? Because the Russians have their own sort of mythological stuff, but
yeah, just the sort of the almost token presence of the Italian mob in Boston. The much more dominant Irish mob, with its weird and unfortunate ties to the IRA.
Yes.
And then the Russians just sort of show up and start kicking over bees' nests, and trouble happens.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you idiots, what are you doing? Why did you do that? Well, we're taking over this turf. No,
you don't know what's in this turf, do you?
Guys, they
start losing guys to ghoul attacks.
Right, exactly. It's like, well, nobody's using this.
I do think there should be a significant ghoul population in Boston.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's going to be our one nod to Lovecraft.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the sub.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. So I like the idea of... Actually, you know what I really like the idea of? I like the idea of Pickman's model, the Lovecraft story.
Yeah.
Actually just being like an actual instance that Lovecraft recorded.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Yes.
Just because there is some interbreeding between the ghouls and the human population. It is strongly frowned upon by all parties.
Yes.
But it does happen. And the ghoul community always calls home its own eventually.
Right.
One way or another.
All right, so we got that. So yeah, there's. Yeah, I like the Boston Brahmin witches. I think that's my favorite thing we've come up with so far, to be totally honest.
It makes a lot of sense. Like you have you have a brief turf war, a cult turf war in Boston, which was part of the whole witch hunt thing.
Yep.
And you end up with the Brahmins basically inheriting the occult protector's mantle. And part of the reason things are oozing more out for our game world is because the Brahmins have lost a lot of political power, which is how they funded a lot of that shit.
Right.
And as corrupt and terrible as it was, I don't want to give any excuses to that shit. It was bad news, but...
Yes. Oh, God, yes.
Thank you, Big Dig.
Yeah, no fucking shit.
Oh wow, that could actually. I really like the idea of the Big Dig actually being the reason why everything started falling apart was a direct result of the Big Dig, not just because they lost a lot of influence through the political backlash against it, because it's a giant mess. It was a giant mess for decades.
Yep.
But it was basically a shadow war between the Undercity and everyone else.
Right.
Which is why there were like giant open wounds throughout Boston that you weren't allowed to go into for safety reasons during the Big Dig.
Well, there were safety reasons, just not the safety reasons they were saying they were.
I still remember trying to get to the T station from a friend's place in Southie, and going down the wrong street and finding like literally this like 2-block wide chasm carved out of Boston that looked like a friggin' Necromunda playset. With like catwalks and tunnels going off into the darkness, and yeah, it was seriously, it's like wandering into a Necromunda table.
Okay, so here's my thought on the Big Dig. Is it was a combination of the reason they were doing it is was official. The official reason was to create more to help deal with the
help Boston traffic congestion.
Right, but it was also they were trying the Brahmins were trying to the people who were behind it were trying to uncover something that they desperately wanted to make sure stayed completely sealed. Like they discovered something down there that there's something down there that needed to be dealt with.
Right.
And
okay. Yeah.
And that's why they're like, okay, it doesn't matter that we're gonna be pissing off the Undercity, and this has to be done.
And they actually get and everyone but the Undercity agrees. Right. The thing, because everyone got their mitts in the Big Dig, because in real life it was a gigantic pork pie for pretty much everyone of influence in Boston.
Yeah. Jesus. So, yeah,
which is the real reason it took like a decade and a half. Yeah.
So, right. There's something down there that had to be dealt with, and the Undercity didn't care. It was breaking.
Yeah, it was having none of that.
And that's entirely due to the fact, like, deals were made with the Unseelie, and the Unseelie do not break deals.
Right.
Like, and it's like, no, okay, look, we have to go down there. It doesn't matter. You've agreed you're not going to intrude in our territory. You don't understand. If we don't go down there, kaboom, all bad. You made a deal. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Actually, I like the idea that they never found it also.
Oh, that's a given.
And that's this big ticking time bomb in the Undercity that the Unseelie may or may not know about.
Well, they were told about it, but they don't know. They've found no evidence of it, and
so they say.
Well, so they say.
These are fairies. They will lie to your face. They'll speak no falsehoods, but they'll lie to your face.
Right. But they claim they found nothing, and further proof that there wasn't anything there is that you guys, despite breaking the deal and all this stuff, you didn't find anything either, did you? And I like so they probably got to weasel some more territory out of it. I'm thinking, because the deal was broken, and part of the way to stop things from really erupting was a new deal had to be made. And that was sort of the breaking point for the Brahmins.
Yeah,
they lost too much They lost too much, sort of quote
political power in both both sides. Yes.
Yeah. Which gave sort of more openings for the other smaller the other groups in Boston.
Yeah, the other factions to start fucking with shit.
All right, so we've got the Boston Brahmins as one sort of the major factions. We got the Undercity which is led. I like the idea of it's led by the Unseelie.
But it's basically just a collection of all the shit that goes bump in the night in Boston.
Right.
There's a lot of shit that goes bump in the night in Boston.
Right. And you've got Chinatown, which is incredibly the Chinatown mystics are incredibly insular, and they've just like we take care of this our territory. We don't give a flying fuck about anything outside of our where we are. We are done with you assholes.
You can come by for dim sum if you want.
If you've got legitimate, non-mystical business in our town in Chinatown, that's fine. We're more than happy to do that. But yeah, no. Oh, if you want to buy shit, we'll probably sell you knickknacks and shit. If a player character happens to have connections, it'd be a great resource.
Yeah, you can get some steamed pork buns. Those are delicious. Those really are the best Chinese food thing out there, like ever. I adore those.
So we got that. We got the Santeria community.
Yep.
There's almost certainly some, there's also almost certainly a few voodoo priests out there also, just because of course there are. Some Hogun and I forgot the other. I'm forgetting terms. God damn it.
Yeah. These are ones I used to know too.
That's what's annoying me.
That's what's particularly vexing about it.
Yes, it's
again, doesn't matter. We'll figure it. It will leap into our minds about 3:00 in the morning. That's how this usually works, at least for me.
I mean, yeah, we can look it up, but I want to keep brainstorming as opposed to Okay, so we got the. Let's see. We've got the sort of the weird science guys who are mostly at MIT, but they're scattered amongst the biotech companies and other stuff too. There's definitely a weird science community that's sort of, I think, centered in MIT.
Yeah, I think centered at MIT makes sense. But yeah, there's probably like there are constant annoyance for everyone involved. Because every once in a while, some like AI robot or lurching bio beast or
some damn high energy physicist is experimenting with something and opens a portal somewhere.
Yeah.
The theoretical physicist is like, hey, what if I do this? Ooh, look, a portal thingy. No, for fuck's sake! Now there are tentacle monsters.
Last time you opened a portal to the Undersea of Europa, we got those things.
Did you summon a star spawn, you asshole? God damn it! Do you know how long it took us to clean up the last one?
Really I really like the idea that the idea of star spawn was an early mistaken it was an early portal being opened to the oceans of Europa. Ed Grubely is coming through.
Yes, I like it. I think I also think that there's definitely a school for magic, like an actual official school for magic at Harvard.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Again, we're tying back to the Boston Brahmin thing here. Of course it's Harvard.
Yeah, of course it's Harvard.
And again, it's an open secret.
I also like the idea that it's a very prestigious, though not necessarily good school, is to get people from all over the country looking for all over the world looking for the prestige of studying thaumaturgy at Harvard.
Well, I think it's. I mean, they probably have some extremely. They almost certainly have some extremely good teachers. It's just a little scattershot, and like all higher education, a lot of it's based on what the work the student puts in.
Yep.
Because they've got libraries upon libraries of stuff that you just. If you want to high, if you actually want to high, the top tier education in Western thaumaturgy, Harvard is the place to go. But you have to get the right professors and you have to find the right books. And there are so many libraries at Harvard.
There really are. Jesus Christ.
So it takes work to find the right stuff.
Oh, I really like the idea that there's actually a small necromancy school in the Harvard Natural History Museum.
Sure, yeah. Yep, and there's almost certainly some. I think both the Catholics and the Protestants have their own little factions of sections of schools where they teach they have people teaching ways to demon hunting and such, which is not just for demons; it's for any gribbly bad shit that's
any gribbly out there.
Right. Like, there's definitely weird shit that is not associated with the Undercity. That is
Yes.
actually that causes problems in Boston. Uh, the occasional rogue necromancer.
Yep. They one of the reasons why there are no like elder thing cults and mythos cults out there is because they get stomped flat in Boston.
Yeah, like anytime one starts coming up, everyone bands together and goes, no.
No, none of that bullshit. Screw you.
Like I love the idea of like an elder like an ancient an elder god cult like devoted to like Azathoth or something like that starts like operating shop and like they pick the exact wrong neighborhood and like the unseelie go, oh fuck no.
Oh no, you don't. No, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no,
no,
no, no, no, no,
no,
no, no, no, no.
no, 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 no.
We're taking care of this one. You don't have to worry about this.
Came to the wrong neighborhood, fucko.
Yeah. I just like anytime like a dangerous cult shows up, like they pick like no matter what neighborhood they pick, like the locals just like, oh no, 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 no.
No, 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 no.
Like
Stomp.
some like a group shows up in like Southie, and just like the residents just like, all right, yeah, you know, or God help you anywhere in the areas where the Irish
Oh,
mob
dude.
still is,
Yeah. Yeah.
just thump. It's like it's not even like they bring in like mystics in; they just bring in a bunch of hard ass Irish mob enforcers just come in and just clean house.
I like the idea that Southie has no supernatural protection whatsoever. It's just that Southie residents just have this like uncanny knack to sort of congregate around supernatural trouble and then kick the shit out of it.
Yes. It's not. It's not. Yeah, right. The Irish mob, like the areas where the Irish mob has influence too. It's like, it's not magic that they do with it. They just go in. And it's like, yeah, magic is great and all.
But
We're just gonna kick the shit out of you. Or
magic's good and all, but nothing beats a trusty firearm.
a bullet between the eyes will drop just about any mage. Oh yes, you're doing your chanting and then bang. All right, fucko. Right. Oh, we didn't manage to kill you with that. Just stunned you. Well, all right. Now we've got our hands on you. The Dawn wants to have a word with you. The boss wants to have a word with you.
You're one of them there fey creatures, huh? Yeah. Luckily I got my steel toes on. Kicks him to death.
Right. I like the idea of there being like, sort of the more humanoid mystical beings like actually operating in the open but not being obvious about it. Like, like I like the idea of there being like one of those weird little bookshops that like, it makes no goddamn sense because there are a bunch of them.
Oh,
Like
Jesus
and like
Christ, there's so many of them.
and like the owner is actually a werewolf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I like that idea as a possible resource for player characters. It's like there's a little bookshop that sells all sorts of weird books and shit. That's run by sort of an elderly, werewolf magus shaman actually.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I think that's pretty cool.
So the question we have to ask is we've got Boston, we've got weird mystical shit. Is okay. We got to come up with a couple of points. One, what are the actual big sort of ongoing things the player characters would have to deal with, and also what is the role the player characters are going to be playing in a game set here? That's actually really important because that's going to inform a lot of what we're like. We've got a sort of basic setting. It's not that hard. We're setting it in a real city, and we've got a bunch of real, local urban legends to draw on. But what are the player characters supposed to be doing? I mean, other than, are they monster hunters? Are they...
I like the idea of... You could totally do a monster hunting campaign, just straight up monster hunting. That, like, hunting rogue ghouls or, like, random Europans or whatever. Or Some damn fool's killer robot got loose.
I've got an idea, Eric. Actually,
I
okay.
actually really like the idea of them working directly for the Brahmins as muscle, though.
That's sort of what I was thinking. What I'm thinking is, like, so the Brahmins had like their order of agents to deal with the supernatural, but since they've lost power and money and influence, they really can't do it the way they used to. And everyone's nobody trusts anybody else to operate in their neighborhoods. So everybody's agreed to fund a small group of troubleshooters who are, they might not be like, it's not, no one will be happy when they come to their neighborhood, but they're people willing to say, yeah, okay, fine. You're not technically affiliated with this other group.
Right.
And like there are people like the people who run the troubleshooters. Every group has a member who like runs a part of the ruling group for it. Like there's a council.
I like the idea of the troubleshooters having always been a thing.
Yes,
just that they're much more prominent now.
Well, yeah, because like they weren't as important before because most of what they do now was handled by the Brahmins.
Right.
But now they can't. They've lost too many people, in the big dig, and they've lost too much money. They can't rebuild as easily.
Yeah.
So
I like the idea of the. I like that idea, and I like the idea of the troubleshooters sort of accidentally stumbling into much greater prominence than they had before.
Yes, it wasn't the intent.
Yeah.
Like,
because they've never played politics. They're always like, we will do the thing. You need the thing done, we will do the thing.
And now there's nobody, like, literally it's now everyone's like, fuck, more shit's going on, and like, oh god, that's got to be dealt with. We don't have enough people there. Well, we can't invite them in because that's, wait, they're the troubleshooter dudes. Right.
Yeah. Fine,
okay.
I suppose we'll use them.
All right, we've got a contract. We've got a contract for you people. And I like the idea that like there's actually like a council has been established. Troubleshooters don't work for the council, but the council actually like has contracts for them occasionally.
Yeah. There could even be like a troubleshooters. There's a troubleshooters union.
Yes. I
was going to say guild, but then I thought, no, this is Boston. It's going to be a fucking union.
Absolutely. And that's what actually pisses like virtually everybody off the most.
Yes. Oh my god, that would pisses everyone off.
Like the Brahmins are like, oh, for fuck's sake. It's like, we've got to negotiate with another union. God damn it. And like the mob is like we like the mob desperately wants to get like their
get their claws in, yes,
and they just are unable to, and that pisses them off.
I like the idea that they occasionally get due, and those members have their contracts terminated.
Well, one of two things happens: either they are basically driven out, their contracts are terminated, or that what have you, or they end up switching sides.
Yeah.
When they see exactly, what the troubleshooters are actually doing, and how they operate, and how necessary they are now,
right?
And occasionally, like someone from like some mob gets in there and like, oh fuck, we really should.
Or the mob manages to subvert someone, and they end up just going full mob,
right?
Being politely asked to leave, type of deal.
Right. I also like the idea that there are a couple of mobs who like get people in there, but they're not there to control things. Just they want to have eyes and ears, and that's all they want.
Yes. Oh yeah. No, the Troubleshooters Union is probably like a giant mess of like conflicting spy.
Oh, absolutely. Every faction has people. Every faction has people in it because they have to.
Yeah.
Like because always and I'm certain that like every faction So, like, your typical troubleshooting team might be a mix of, like, someone that, trained by the Boston Brahmins and, a Centaurian priest, a scientist from MIT.
Yep.
A Chinese monster
Scientist.
hunter. A Chinese monster hunter and, I don't know, and a Protestant minister.
Yes.
So you gotta. That's the thing is like all like the weird shit like that. You know, you like all the weird religious shit actually works.
Yep.
Which
at least here in Boston.
At least here in Boston, right? And it's like so, like you know, you got the you know the Christian like the Protestant Catholic priests who like are able to do like exorcisms and shit, and like
no, what you have are like the occasional revival faith healer.
Oh, sure, that happens too. But my point being is that like they have that going, but like you know there are like the you know Voodoo Hogan, their stuff works too.
Yep.
And that being a sort of one of those things that like the you know the Catholic Church is like the fuck, like our priests can actually you know do you know miracles and but like other religious figures are doing them too. What on earth is going on? Something's weird here.
Yeah.
Another one of the sort of weird mysteries, and it might just be you know it's something unique to Boston or who knows. But yeah, I like the idea of the player characters basically being a group of troubleshooters.
Yes, and part of the union. Do you have your card? Have you paid your dues?
Because if you have, like, it's good. That's a good thing because you know,
if you really want to do one in a hard mode, you could be scabs. You could be troubleshooter scabs.
Yeah, we don't recommend that. The big advantage of being a union member is, like, honestly, oh, you got your arm bitten off by some gribbly. Well, you know, just go to this hospital here, talk to Doctor, you know, Berkowitz, and you know he'll fix you up. What?
Also, just the fact, like, this is a union in Boston. Scabs are not terribly welcome.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you know, part of the thing with the union is like being a part of the union is it's not just that you know the scabs will be driven off. It's also they've negotiated actual health care for you.
Yep.
Which you're gonna fucking need.
You're a goddamn monster hunter. Yeah, I dig it so far.
Yeah. And so,
I think we've got Dresden Files Boston going on right now.
Basically, yes. And honestly, like the Dresden Files RPG probably is not a bad system to use for this.
It's actually probably an excellent system to use for this.
Yeah. Just thinking about it, it's like that's like one of those. I think it's almost sort of custom built. I mean, it's designed for urban fantasy. I mean, is the thing.
Yeah.
It's basically the Fate system, so you can do basically anything with the Fate system. But you know, it's well thought out for this. But yeah, there's all sorts of like little weird places you can actually have for like random weird contacts and have them be you know weird stuff. Like like the idea of the the werewolf shaman with a bookshop.
Yep.
Being a place that you know you can go do research and such, without having to go actually you know deal with the librarians at Harvard, who will probably ask too many questions.
Or the yoga instructors, who are in fact like swamis.
Oh sure, yeah, definitely, absolutely.
What I really want. I want the New Agey crystal magic to not actually work in Boston, but work everywhere else. Because I think that's hilarious. That sort of like it's just that whole like New Age like self-help crystals and incense and stuff actually fucking works, except in Boston. Because that's hilarious to me.
It's a good one. I like it. It's interesting, at least. So the other question is, so how well does magic work outside of the Boston area, just in general, like outside of New England? And my gut feeling is it probably does.
Sure, I think it probably does. I think there's I like the idea of it being stronger in Boston, probably several other places around the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably more than anyone's willing to admit.
I'm certain like there's probably
like
a bunch
London,
of London,
Dublin, the area around Stonehenge, almost certainly Moscow.
Yeah. The Black Forest in Germany.
Yep.
All sorts of places in Scandinavia.
Yes.
Like, especially once you get far
I
enough
like the
north.
idea of Iceland just being one big, giant, magical nexus.
Yes. Both Iceland and Greenland.
Yes. Of course we believe in elves and trolls. They're our neighbors.
That's good. I like it. Let's see.
I think Cambridge University and England is another big prestigious.
Oh yeah, sure.
Magicals.
They're a bunch of a bunch of the big universities,
Yep.
the big famous universities have their own schools of magic. It's just that Harvard has the rep. Like Cambridge used
Harvard's
to be,
got the rep.
and Cambridge used to be the one.
Yep.
But Harvard
There's a bit of a
developed.
rivalry there.
Oh, absolutely.
I like the idea of there being a gigantic weird science rivalry between MIT and Caltech. Because there kind of already is one. We'll just take it to the next step.
Yes.
I like the idea of Silicon Valley being actually being founded by Technomancers.
Oh, sure.
Actual goddamn Technomancers.
Sure, I like that.
Like they're and they're still the ruling class as much as there's one in Silicon Valley. But like most of the people in Silicon Valley are now just like tech bros. But you have that core of Technomancers.
I like the idea of there being like. Also, I think one of the sort of antagonistic elements might be some like Technomancer type stuff that are that are trying to sort of take over MIT and bouncing off largely.
Yes, I like that idea.
And they annoy like everybody. Because MIT's all about the science, not the magic.
Right. I actually really like the idea of the Technomancers being able to teleport in and out of any place with a Wi-Fi connection.
Okay.
They are literally from the internet, so to speak.
Well, or at least they can take advantage of that.
They can travel on the internet. Yes.
Okay. Which is infuriating to everybody.
Yes.
Oh, that's actually one of the things I think would. I just had another thought. Is one of the reasons that Harvard's magic is lagging behind a little bit is they're very reluctant to embrace the internet.
Yes.
And as a means for research and study and such. So yes, it's there, but that's not the way things are done. You use books.
It's just not how it's done. Why would we digitize this grimoire? That's stupid. It's stupid not to digitize the Necronomicon. Why would you digitize the Necronomicon?
Because then it can fall into anybody's hands at any time, you idiot.
Yes, but if you just... I also like the idea of one of the reasons they're so reluctant to digitize things and use the internet is because the more people that know about it, the more the magic's diffused.
Possibly. At least that's their theory. That might be their theory, at least.
That's their theory, anyway. Who knows how true it is?
Right. But it's like there are some books they just do not wanting to fall into the wrong hands too easily.
Right. But I think that's like one of the reasons why I say Zuckerberg's so protective of the source code for Facebook and his various algorithms is because it actually is magic. And what if Harvard's right?
All right. I like this. This is all sorts of weird and awesome.
Yes.
So you got okay. So I'm sort of thinking about the sort of ways the troubleshooters can interact with the various communities. Like I honestly think like one place that probably the least unwelcome might actually almost be the Undercity.
Oh, I think the Undercity actually has an excellent not reputation, relationship with the Union. Because once you make a deal with the Undercity, everyone they keep the deal.
Right.
Once you have it, you just need to make sure your contract's ironclad.
Right.
It's just,
before they made
things that don't have a face, or too many faces, or well, things that shouldn't have a face but do.
Bardic DM in the chat mentions, so could messing with net neutrality be a way of the government trying to mess with the Technomancers? I kind of like that.
I kind of like that.
It's a better reason than we got.
Yeah. That's... The ISPs are run by a Technomancer cabal, and they're trying to mess with net neutrality so that they can fucking control it.
I like that too, yes.
That's why they're trying to mess with it, because the ISPs finally got one of their fucking dogfucker shills into the chairmanship, and now they can fuck with it.
That's giving way too much credit to Arjun Pai.
Oh, he's not actually a Technomancer. He's
a pawn.
He's a shill and a pawn, obviously.
Right.
Just like Trump.
Let's see. But yeah, like I could definitely see the player characters having to the Undercity being a major resource for them, but also being a very uneasy and dangerous place to go.
Yeah,
the people the leadership of the people in charge are all like, yeah, no, we're all cool with you people. But because we've got a contract, we've got a deal. Your lawyers are very good, annoyingly so.
Lawyers are very good, but your contracts are just with me personally, and unfortunately direct members of my household. But Bob across the street doesn't have a contract. Watch out for Bob. He gets peckish.
It's like there's a sort of standing thing that agreement from most citizens of the Undercity. It's like you don't mess with the troubleshooters. They're among the few mortals who are actually helpful to us and don't.
I like the idea of the Undercity having this very high respect for deals, but being otherwise very anarchic.
Yes.
So the troubleshooters get by a lot on rep down there.
Yes.
But they more often than not have to prove their prowess.
Sure. Like you once you have a rep, you're good. You're gold.
Yeah. Not even that you're gold. It's just you're not devoured out of hand. The Undercity is. There's great business in the Undercity, but it's very dangerous.
Well, not devoured out of hand is basically as gold as you're going to get.
No one's going to care.
Oh, if you do get it, yeah, it's like, oh, well, that's a shame. You fucked up. That's too bad.
Oh, I guess he wasn't as good as he thought he was.
He didn't live up to his rep. Oh, well. But if the player characters are canny enough, they can set up enough cross connecting deals that people won't fuck with them.
Yeah. But but that's the thing. You have to do it yourself, and one of the aspects of any deal done is you can't reveal the particulars to how you did it to other people.
Right.
Which means the guild can't actually help you out in setting this up.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I could tell you who to talk to and how to network this stuff, but that'd break my own contract, and well, sorry. You're on your own, kid. Just make sure your dues are paid up.
As long as you don't get actually killed, we'll make sure we'll make sure you're all healed up. You might get a new cyber limb, but hey.
Oh, I like the idea of cybernetics being a thing for troubleshooters, and being like, I don't want to get a cyber limb. It's kind of like an orc going to the pain dock. I
well, yeah,
go to the dock. Like who knows what those kooks at MIT or Brigham and Women's will give me? Who knows if it'll work?
Oh, it'll work. It might not work the way you expect it to.
or want it to, or
The basic functions will be what you ask for, but you might have a few bonuses.
just
I use the term
make sure
bonuses.
you have it properly calibrated before you try to drink with it. Our last test subject lost a 9 when he shoved a pint glass into his face.
I also imagine like asking for like particular details on like a cyber limb, and like the scientist building it, the MIT engineer building it for you is like, so let me get this straight. You want your cyber limb to be made out of cold iron, but you also want like a weapon built in it that's silver. Okay, I think or at least silvered. I can do that. Why cold iron? Well, we have to deal with some rogue fae.
Actually, I imagine that being a usual like thing, but I like the idea of these scientists going, cold iron. Cold iron's all well and good. What if we do orichalcum coated with?
No, I need it to be cold iron.
But I had this whole, and yes, there are cold iron components in it, but there's a whole new alloy that supposedly has the same metamorphic qualities as cold iron, but doesn't. But it's lighter and stronger and more flexible. But I can't bitch slap a she knight with it.
Well, I mean, if you're going to be that crude. All right, so I like this. This is good. All sorts of weirdness to deal with too.
Yeah.
I mean, just again, like
I like the idea that cybernetics are a thing, but you don't want them.
Right.
They are to be avoided at all costs. Not because anyone has this like idea of like the pure organic human or like troubles with the idea of post-human whatnots.
It's just that the majority of people who do this shit are mad scientists.
That they're all, the only reason this shit works is because it's done by mad scientists, and you can't trust those fuckers.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, like any cyber limit, just any cybernetics inherently has some. Like it's definitely going to be beneficial.
Work. Yeah,
it'll work. It's beneficial generally, but it'll always have some sort of weird drawback to it.
Yes.
That you won't necessarily know at the outset. I think that's actually something that has. For everything there's a price to pay.
Yeah,
I think is a way to phrase it. I think
it's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I like the idea that there's even for like especially with magic and stuff.
Absolutely.
Even for like the cybernetics and whatnot, like. I like the way that the Technomancers get around it is through Bitcoin. It's actually one of the things that really annoys everyone is because of they invest a huge amounts into Bitcoin, which is a thing. Bitcoin's actually just a giant nexus, like yes, it's a cryptocurrency, but more importantly, it's a giant like magic battery for the Technomancers. And it's one they've just figured out. The more people that invest in Bitcoin, the more magic they can use consequence-free.
I like that. That's actually interesting. Oh wow! So like a player character, like it'd be interesting to have like a player character or Technomancer also.
Yeah.
Who's like who generally is their heart's in exactly the right place, but like nobody fucking trusts them because part of it is because they can do shit without making deals and bargains that they would normally need to make.
Yeah.
And
like they don't have to pay the price because I already invested my life savings in Bitcoin. If that currency crashes, I'm boned.
Well, there's that also, but there's also this uneasy feeling of, okay, yeah, you say that it's there, you don't have to pay a price for it, but there's always a price.
Yeah.
It's just that you haven't found it yet.
And that could be something. That could also be something that sort of hovers over the necromancers that they'll never admit to, but like irks them. They might be wrong about Bitcoin. They might be just incurring a massive debt.
Yeah, to something that they don't fully understand yet because,
Right. It
Technomancers.
could even just be a giant like karmic debt.
Oh yeah, that's
Like
quite possibly.
shit will all fall apart for them one day, seemingly at random.
Okay, there's one thing I want to steal from that I want to steal for that I think actually is I think an interesting sort of thing to put in general.
Okay.
So that's a concept that is used. Been used a bunch, but it's most notably was used in Mage, which is paradox.
Hmm.
And part of the reason you have to make deals and shit like that is that it's a way to avoid paradox feedback.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And if you make the right deal, you can be more obvious about shit without actually the universe actually coming back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah,
because
I like that.
You've paid a price already. Like anybody who has the right training can cast an obvious spell that you could throw most mages could throw a fireball just at random, but that's not the way the world's supposed to work. And you have not paid the price to ignore the rules.
Mm.
So just randomly being able to cast a fireball is problematic. So you have to arrange something with somebody to be able to use magic overtly if you want to, or to and part of the reason that cybernetics work the way they do and they have all the weird drawbacks is you're doing stuff that's not normal. But and all this stuff works better in Boston because Boston is weird and people accept the fact that there is weirdness.
There's weirdness in Boston. Yeah.
And that might be part of the reason the crystal shit doesn't work, is everyone sort of dismisses it out of hand.
Right.
The collective unconscious of New England is just fuck that.
Whatever.
we know what real magic is. That's not real magic. But it works. That's it. Why does it not work here?
But it works just fine back in Cali.
Part of the reason technomancy works well in Boston, despite normally wouldn't, is because MIT's weird science shit. So
yes,
the whole
yes.
There's an acceptance of weird science already in Boston. So it's and that drives all the normal mages nuts. It's
yes,
we've set things up so technomancy shouldn't be able to work here, but it does because of MIT. But we can't get rid of MIT because it's already here. And
Arg!
But yeah, there's a lot of. I like the idea. There's also a lot of sort of sort of Cold War-ish infighting amongst the factions too.
Yes,
because a lot of them are see it as well, okay, since the Brahmins are no longer in charge, somebody's got to be in charge.
Mm.
Otherwise, everything's going to fall apart, and it should totally be us. But we don't want to break the peace overtly because that would be worse than what we have now. Fuck.
Dope.
Also, it might motivate the Brahmins to actually say, "Fuck it, we're willing to incur some debt in certain areas to come to slap down in any upstarts completely."
Yeah.
That's a big worry for everybody. It's
I think it's a big worry, and it's part of the reason why there isn't someone hasn't clearly taken the mantle yet. Because the Brahmins are holding on tooth and nail to what they still have.
Right, and it's they're willing to let things stand as they are because the price they'd have to pay to reestablish themselves is not one they're willing to pay right now.
Yeah, they're
anyone making
still rebuilding resources,
and anyone making an overt move might motivate them to take the step they don't want to take.
Yeah,
and everybody realizes that, and it's yeah, there's a reason they were in charge for as long as they were, and it wasn't just their money and political capital. They're a sleeping giant that we don't want to wake up again.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. There are stories about what they can do,
Yes.
but
It's like, oh, well, fuck them. They're nobody right now. Yeah. Do you remember? They weren't before they took over either, and they did. They held off the church. They held off. They held off the unseelie. They held off everybody on their own before they fully developed their before they were actually the big deal.
yeah,
How do you
So
think they
the
got
Brahmins
there?
have something going on. They have some trump card that no one quite knows what it is.
Yep.
There are lots of theories,
Yep.
but
And it's a trump card they don't want to use.
yeah, it's clearly something like they used it last time they took over, and they probably just finished paying it off.
Yeah. That's almost certainly what it is. Yes, I like that.
They just finished paying it off. They just got out from under debt, probably like in the past 50 years or so.
And it's like we don't want to go back to that because it was bad.
Yeah.
There's a reason we had to be.
Why I like the idea that it's part of the reason why they made the push for with the big dig was because they had paid off their debt and they were feeling pretty overconfident.
Yep.
And then it blew up in their faces because that's how things work.
Right. So, all right. I think the only thing we haven't really touched on, the last thing I want to sort of touch on is we have to, I think is important. It is important. Is what remnants of the natives stuff is there?
There are, unfortunately, I don't know a lot about the native peoples of the
New
Boston
England.
area.
Yeah, I don't know enough
And
about
New
them
England
either.
in general.
There's info
God.
on them, but I've not done
Yeah.
enough research on it.
I don't know enough about them. I can't. I don't want to make any educated guesses because, yeah,
I would like to. I like the idea of there being still some influence, and
you know what I like the idea of? They're the sleeping giant, not the Brahmin sleeping giant, but they are the sleeping giant. Everyone just sort of pretends aren't an issue, but has contingency plans if they ever decide to act, and everyone's pretty sure it wouldn't work because they've paid a lot.
yeah, there's a lot of.
They're running on a considerable surplus at the moment.
Yes, they are. Yeah, and they've not done anything.
So they're not really active, but at any moment they could be and be a terrifying threat to the supernatural world
if they chose to be.
if they chose to be.
Because they have a serious karmic debt. They've got a serious everybody owes them a serious karmic debt at this point.
Yeah, they've got a
Everybody.
massive surplus, magical surplus going on, and they're just sitting on it.
I like the idea that some people are postulate. I like the idea that there's at least one or two factions that postulate that part of the people, part of the what the Brahmins actually, how the Brahmins took over was because of that.
Yes, actually, yeah.
But no one is. The Brahmins are saying nothing, and neither are the native tribes.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I think?
What?
I like the idea of part of the reason the Brahmins took over was they did the whole drink your milkshake to their to the native surplus. And the big dig was just the tiniest fraction of their ire.
Possible.
Don't do it again.
Possibly.
Because it was Because to the outside it was nothing overt, but the Brahmins are fully aware that some kind of entropic thing was going on that's making everything that could go wrong.
Right. Interesting. Definite possibility. It's something. It is at minimum something to think about.
Yeah.
I like that.
So yeah, if the Brahmins really wanted to, they could do the drink your milkshake again. But they really don't want to.
This boy that came back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah.
Again, that might be it. I don't know if it is. It's something that it's I like the idea that that no one knows for sure except for the Brahmins.
Except for the Brahmins. But that's like one of the rumors floating around.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the rumors. I like the idea that like the Unseelie are convinced that the Brahmins made a deal with the Seelie court. Like,
yes,
they are convinced of it. There's zero proof, but they are absolutely convinced.
Absolutely, yes. They know it the same way that a flat earther knows that NASA is a hoax.
Right. Except they might be right.
Except they might be, yes.
There's a chance that the Unseelie lords are like that they're actually correct, that it's a giant sort of big deal that they made, because Lord knows that's a big debt that the Brahmins would have to pay off.
Yeah. I also like the idea that there aren't a lot of actual Seelie.
Oh, there aren't. There are very few. Yeah. Some came over, but not a lot. I like the idea that not a lot of them came over because they didn't want to step on the toes of the local sort of mystics, the native mystics. It's like, this is your territory. We're coming over because our people came over, and we have to be here. But we're not going to send as many as we could because we respect your territory. Yeah, we know that other people are stepping on your toes all over the place, but we're not going to be one of the ones that do.
We're not going to be one of those guys. We're not going to be that guy.
We're here to keep an eye on our people and nothing more. We promise. And
well, the Unseelie are like, if you can't hold on to it, then it was never yours in the first place.
Right. Absolutely. No, I like the idea that the Seelie made a deal with the locals. Like, we promise we are not going to step on your toes.
We're just here to watch over certain bloodlines because ancient deals are struck, and they're here now. So we have a couple representatives. That's it.
So, like, yeah, there are a few Fey lords here and there in the Boston area who do basically nothing because they can't, without breaking a lot of, But in these small areas where they're very influential in the small areas they've got to operate in.
Yes, that tremendous amounts of power, very restricted in the ways they can use it.
Yes.
Almost to the point of impotence in most cases.
Yes. All right.
Yeah,
all right.
Because I like the idea that the Seelie actually sent over like full-on princelings.
Yes.
Well, it was basically just for the Unseelie, it was basically just a big dump of their glory-seeking chumps that needed to get rid of anyway. like the New World is a big forgive the term using it in its original intention, glory hole for the Unseelie.
Right. That's the other thing. Is like, so you've got these these scattered Seelie princelings and princesses and such, and no more than maybe a half dozen. But like the Unseelie are all sitting there going, we know they're bound by certain contracts, but there are certain areas they're up to something. They gotta be.
Yeah.
It's more than what they're saying, because they never everything they said is factually true, because that's the way we all work. But
right, they'll never speak a falsehood, but everything they say is a lie, because that's how we work.
All right. anything else we need to throw in here?
I'm sure we'll think up other shit.
Oh, of course we'll later, but I think this is a good framework for a campaign, honestly.
Yeah. No, I love the idea of like the space folding Boston, and a big trick of getting around it, especially for troubleshooters to get to where they need to be. It's just knowing how it folds and when. Right. Because another weird thing about Boston is shortcuts will change during the time of day. Right. A lot of that has more to do with traffic patterns than anything else, but I like the idea of it actually being like an aspect of...
Oh, sure, time of day and time of year, too.
Yes.
There's certain shortcuts that don't work in the fall.
Yeah, they absolutely don't work in the fall. A lot of shortcuts don't work in the fall because, well, the kids are back.
Yep. School's now in session. So there are students everywhere. Dear God, there are a lot of universities in the Boston area.
So, yeah. Now, I remember reading somewhere once that Boston's population drops by about 2/3 in the summer.
I'm not sure it's quite that much, but it's big.
It's a large amount. And it's definitely noticeable if you're trying to get anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that covers virtually all of the... Like, I'm not sure what else we could throw. We could just sort of discuss for setting up a campaign there. I mean, like...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it will be stuff that we'd want to custom for
a group of players.
Bolt-on customized for people's characters.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, this is definitely a setting where things will be different depending on what the group of players are.
Yeah.
Like, there will be extra folk, like, if a player character is, Chinese, for instance, and has ties to the, Chinatown, that will mean that you'd have to develop more definitive, you'd have to develop more information on what's going on in Chinatown than you might normally have to.
Right.
Beyond, it's very insular, and, most people don't go there because, most people, in terms of the mystic stuff, don't go there. The magic community doesn't go there because they don't want us there.
Right.
Like, troubleshooters will go there from time to time if need be. But, like, Chinatown...
Or, to get some of those delicious friggin' pork buns.
Well, again, if you're going there for...
But no one works... no one in the magical community works there.
Right. Again, if Chinatown has a contract for the troubleshooters there, then they'll be allowed in grudgingly to do their work.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, if you've ever been to Chinatown in Boston, it's pretty much an entirely different city.
It really is. Great food, though. Jesus.
Delicious food. Lots of just cool stuff there, but it's an entirely different city. And unless you speak Mandarin, you don't speak the language.
Yeah. All right. I think that's going to cover the campaign, the brainstorming, I think.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's basically going to do it. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been sending in suggestions and questions and shit. We've gotten a fair bit of stuff recently, and we really appreciate that.
Yes. Ghostrak, to answer your question, there are people from all over Asia and Boston, but the Chinese community is by far the biggest and most cohesive.
Yes.
So yes, we have Japanese people and Korean people and all the other stuff, but China's got the biggest, most cohesive community in Boston.
Boston has a lot of people from all over the world.
Yeah,
in the area.
One of the best Vietnamese restaurants I've ever had was actually can't remember the name of the street. Fuck, the street that the MFA is on.
Oh crap.
Anyway, amazing Vietnamese food. Run by first-gen immigrants. Really sweet people there. I don't know if it's still open. I haven't been there in like over a decade. I hope it is.
Huntington Ave.
Huntington, that's it, yes.
Yeah.
I don't. I hope it is. I hope that, but I haven't been there in over a decade. Haven't had a reason to.
But yeah,
Beyond that, Vietnamese food.
Yeah, there is because Boston has so many universities and colleges and shit. There's a large amount and so much tech. There's and there's a lot of people from all over the world who come to Boston.
Yep. Yeah, if you look, you will find a small community for just about any existing community elsewhere in the world.
Just about. I mean,
it might be just half a street, but
I mean that's true for a lot of big cities in the U.S., but it's really noticeable in Boston.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's gonna do it.
Yeah.
As I said, we usually save time at the end of each episode for viewer questions and such. We do that generally when we aren't doing one of the brainstorming things, because these tend to run a bit longer, and but I want to take a quick look and make sure I'm not missing any, like... Yeah, that's also the other thing. Bardic is also right. Boston's also a port city, which is going to be an older mixed communities. Absolutely.
Yep.
Let's just gonna take a quick look here, see if we've got anything. Yeah, all right. We have some other stuff we could talk. We'll cover in a future episode, I think. But tonight, I think that's going to do it. But we do love getting questions from the viewers who'd like us to answer on the show. We try to answer a couple each show, but if we're running long or we're focusing on one person's question and such, we tend to save them up for other times. But we have a few this time. We have a few, and we have a bunch of good topic suggestions also.
Yes.
But if you got questions for us you'd like us to answer on the show, or if you've got show topic suggestions, or you've got constructive criticism for us, ways we can make the show better, etc. We love getting all of that stuff. We love it to fucking death.
We really do.
Especially the feedback and show topic suggestions.
Yes.
But anyways, if you want to get that stuff to us, the best way is to email us. Our email address is surlygrognards@yahoo.com, surlygrognards@yahoo.com, or you can post them on the on YouTube in the comment section when I upload the recordings to YouTube. Other than that, we record the show most Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern here on twitch.tv/mechajam. And I tweet out when the show's going to go live, so if you want to keep an eye on my Twitter handle is @mechajam. Other than that, I think that's going to do it for this week.
Yeah, I think we is good.
Yeah. So, thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for joining in. We love you guys. You guys are great. And we will be back, I think, next week with something else.
Yep, we'll figure something out.
Yep. Anyways, guys, happy Halloween, everybody. I hope you guys had fun, and we'll see you guys next time.
Keep spooky, people.
Bye.
Bye.